In this video and this module, we're wrapping up the course, connecting the dots, and thinking ahead to the future. As leaders in organizations, we have tremendous responsibility to not only develop our own diversity consciousness, but to also manage and maintain diversity within the organization. As we've read in excerpts from Allport's The Nature of Prejudice, there are great potential benefits that come from intergroup contact, but we can't simply throw together people from different backgrounds and hope for the best. Diversity requires concerted, ongoing effort. But sometimes organizations and the people within them don't work toward managing diversity positively. That's why mechanisms exist to ensure that diversity is addressed appropriately. And there exist both formal and informal mechanisms. Formal mechanisms might include laws, rules, and regulations that require compliance. Informal mechanisms exist generally within the organization and include norms and cultural practices. As we first grapple with diversity management, organizations often respond first to external pressures, which lead to legitimacy based on what external stakeholders say about organizational efforts. And then later, in the life of the organization and in the life of addressing diversity in positive ways, internal legitimacy arises, and we start to be held accountable by pressures within the organization. Managing diversity means acknowledging people's differences and recognizing those differences as valuable. Diversity enhances good management practices by preventing discrimination and promoting inclusiveness. Good management alone will not necessarily help you work effectively with a diverse workforce. This is why it's important to develop your own skills as diversity-conscious leaders. It is often difficult to see what part diversity plays in a specific area of management. There are perspectives in which diversity is seen as an organizational asset, and focusing on diversity can provide both strategic and competitive advantage. One of the stumbling blocks organizations have when it comes to addressing diversity comes when we look at diversity training efforts. I'm sure many of us have been through some sort of training focused on diversity, and after leaving that training, we probably don't hear diversity mentioned again until the next fiscal year when we're mandated to attend. A diversity-conscious leader thinks beyond the one-and-done training mentality when it comes to addressing diversity in the organization. If we want to have a diverse work team, we have to be mindful of how we're recruiting for open positions. Are we taking steps to ensure a truly diverse pool of qualified candidates? Often managers think about efforts to address diversity by looking at return on investment, or ROI. Unfortunately, a manager who is not a diversity-conscious leader will focus solely on short-term measures. Think back to how we began the Module 5 video. Team development takes time, and teams go through stages, and diversity has the potential to complicate that. We need a big picture, long-range perspective to examine the return on investment when it comes to diversity. When I shared the 5 traits of leaders from Kouzes and Posner in Module 5, I talked about the importance of empowerment. When we truly empower team members and the people who we're charged to lead, we want them to express themselves. We want and need them to share what they think makes the organization successful and also where the organization needs improvement. So we need to make sure that diversity is a core operating principle for the organization. But how do organizations demonstrate this? Well, one example is here at Murray State. And one of the ways that organizations and higher education institutions are no exception, one of the ways that we go about demonstrating that diversity is a core operating principle is through our statements of inclusion and non-discrimination. We have to keep in mind that there are no one-size-fits-all options. that there's no recipe to follow for addressing diversity within an organization. That it really varies based on the organization, based on the industry, based on locale, and based on the team members. But we have to be mindful that there are consequences of ignoring diversity. If we ignore diversity within our work teams, that we could end up there becoming unhealthy tensions within the team, which we have to remember is one of the stages of, or one of the elements within one of the stages of team development, that there could be tensions. But if they're prolonged and become unhealthy, we need to pay attention to that. One of the consequences, think back to the cyberbullying information that I included in the video that I recorded, and then the cyberbullying information that was included in a separate video on Canvas. Your development as a diversity conscious leader is not going to end with this course. This is just like a one and done training activity in an organization. This course is not the end all be all of your development as a diversity conscious leader. So you have to think for yourself what you need to continue your own learning. You need to know what you don't understand and think critically about what you still need to learn. As you think about your continued development along these lines, look to professional associations or trade organizations within your field. Where is diversity being addressed? And where can you go to keep learning more? And then finally, I share this quote from a colleague on Twitter. He works at an institution of higher education and student affairs up in the Boston area. And he shared this recently, and I think it's really fitting to wrap up this course. Don't compare yourself to other people. Compare who you are now to who you were yesterday and who you want to be tomorrow.